Let's dig far beneath the earth and let's add custom ore generation to our Minecraft mod. 121 Minecraft modding courses available down below, with over 11 hours of content covering everything from the basics all the way to block entities and custom mobs. Alright friends, I was back and tell you once more, and in this tutorial we're adding custom ore generation to our project right here, and of course very importantly that you have watched the previous tutorial on the basic world gen setup over here, so that you have a mod place features class, a mod configured features class, and the mod world generation class. Very importantly, if you don't, then I highly recommend you first watch that video, or of course you can also always check the description down below and check out the GitHub repository where all of the code is available to you. Also quite important, as per usual, of course, all of the tutorials have timestamps down below. This might be interesting for you because I will first of all add custom end ore and a custom nether ore over here as blocks, basically, because we're also going to add basically end ore generation and nether ore generation. But I'm going to do this, well, we're going to do this quite fast, so do keep that in mind, and it is also all linked down below. So you can see end ore and nether ore, absolutely fantastic, and we're of course going to add all of the different things, such as the loot of this, which is going to be a multiple ores drop in this case. But very straightforwardly, we're simply going to have, this is going to be the, first of all, nether, let's say, or end. I mean, that's also works, end ore. We can change the numbers here if we so choose to. Of course, we don't need to. Nether ore and the nether ore right here. And this is going to be, let's say, 3 to 8. Sure, why not? It's going to be the drops. And then when it comes to the models, very straightforwardly, it is literally just 2 simple cubes here for once the nether and once the end ore. And I believe that should actually be everything we're going to need for the stuff over here. So that's going to be the blocks, of course, the translation and the friggin' textures. Don't forget those. Here is the translation. And of course, when it comes to the textures, well, those are just 2 block textures. And of course, we wanted to add those as well as the pink garnet end ore and the pink garnet nether ore. That is indeed what they are called. I want to add those to the block textures folder that we have them, and the rest should be here, so we should basically be good to go. And after we have added both of those blocks, well, now we can move on to the world package, where we're first of all going to start with the mod configured features class. Of course, having added a few things here in the last tutorial, and we're just going to do a quick sort of recap on, okay, what are we doing? Well, we have a configured feature that is what we want to, well, use inside of a place feature, which we then ultimately want to use with biome modifications, where we can finally set it into the world. The configured feature is where we're at right now, and that is what we want to do. So we basically want to define how is our ore going to look like. And the way that this is going to work is we need a registry key for each different thing, for each different feature that we're going to configure here. So this is going to be a public static final. This is going to be a registry key of type configured feature of type question mark, comma, question mark. And this is going to be the pink underscore garnet underscore ore underscore key equal to the register key method, pink underscore garnet underscore ore. Awesome. We're going to duplicate this twice, and then we're going to change this to nether pink garnet ore. And very importantly, we need to change it up in the register key method as well. Otherwise, if any of those names match, well, then we will get quite a bit of headache here in this case. Now, when it comes to ores, the way that they are being, well, configured in this case is, well, do we have a certain block that we can replace with this ore? And that's basically what we need to check, because ores, right, if we think about this, let's take a look at our block textures, pink garnet deep slate ore and pink garnet ore. Well, this is obviously embedded in stone, and this is embedded in deep slate, or deep slate rather. And if you all of a sudden see this embedded in deep slate right down below, you'd be like, this looks a little bit out of place. Yeah, of course it would look out of place because this is stone and this is deep slate. So what we need to do is we need to define rule tests. I'll copy over those rule tests and you'll see them in a second. They are going to be very straightforward here. It's basically stone rule tests or replaceables, right? A deep slate, a nether, and an end replaceables over here. And you can always see they use either tags, right, for stone or replaceables, deep slate replaceables, base stone nether. And here they also use, in the end example, a block match rule test, basically saying, hey, this block has to match, and then this is the block, or when we talk about the tags, these are the blocks, the multiple blocks that we could replace with our ore. And we have to define this by, first of all, making a list. And this list is going to be of a feature or feature config.target. And it's going to be the overworld pink garnet ores equal to a list.of and then a ore feature config.create target, passing in the stone replaceables, and then whatever the block is that we can replace this with. So mod blocks dot is going to be the pink garnet ore dot default state. And then we can duplicate this line and add another one that's not quite right. Actually, we don't want another list. We just want another entry. So another entry here of ore feature config create target. This time saying deep slate replaceables can be replaced with the pink garnet deep slate ore. This should be fairly self-explanatory, or let's say it should at least make sense in this case. And that's basically what we need. Now, what we can do is, and we can basically take the list that we have here, right? And we can then basically, well, redefine it, so to speak, for both the end as well as the nether ore as well. I'm just going to copy this over because it's going to look exactly the same. So you can see we have the nether pink garnet ores and the end pink garnet ores. So, you know, nothing too crazy over here. That should be fairly self-explanatory. And then it is actually as easy as the following. We're going to call the register method, right? The register method that we have this one right here, where we first of all pass in the context. Then we're going to pass in whatever key we want, right? So this is going to be, for example, the pink garnet ore key for the overworld ores. And then we want to define what type of feature is this going to be, right? So this is now where we're going to say, okay, this type of feature, and then we're going to set the configuration after this. So this is going to be a feature.ore because, well, this is a ore feature. And an ore feature needs a new ore feature config. And this one takes in a list, as you can see, of targets. And this list of targets is luckily going to be the overworld pink garnet ores. And then a size, which is going to be the size of the vein, right? So this is the vein size over here. And that is the whole idea. And then it is as easy as duplicating this twice, saying this is going to be the nether pink garnet ore. Very importantly, changing this ore feature config to the nether pink garnet ores list. Extremely important. And then if you want to, you can also change the size, although you don't need to. And then here, we're changing it to the end pink garnet key over here. And then same thing here, changing it to the end pink garnet ores. And that is that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's basically the whole idea. Let's change this one as well to 9, let's say. And there you go. And that is the configured features done. We have now made ore features, which are basically configured in a certain way. Now we can also take a look at the feature over here. So the ore feature, control left click on this, and we can then see where this is used. If you only have this in your own classes, you can go to the settings right here and just check all places. And all of a sudden, you can see all of the different vanilla places. This is also created in the ore configured features class. And all of a sudden, well, now we have all of the different configured features from vanilla available to us. This is by far the best resource that you can have at your disposal. It is super useful because usually you should know, okay, roughly speaking, how is lapis placed, right? Oh, I want my ores to basically be as, placed as lapis. There you have it. Take a look at the list 4. What is that? Take a look at size 7, right? We can take a look at list 4. That is lapis ore can be placed in, of course, stone ore replaceables. Deep slate can be placed in deep slate ore replaceables. Okay, fairly straightforward. We know what that means. And now you have everything available here. This also includes the place features that we're going to go over in a bit. So basically, it has everything available. Highly recommended to always take a look at vanilla. Now that we have our configured feature done, that's awesome. And we need one helper class. That's going to be the mod or placement class. I'm just going to copy this over. This is available to you down below. It isn't too complicated. It just has 3 static methods over here. And we'll need this for our placed feature. And I will show you why in a second. Actually, you know what? We're going to look at it immediately. Why not? So we've seen the ore configured features, and I believe this should be under the ore place features. This is a thing. Yes. So if we take a look at this one, then we can actually see those 3 methods right here, but they're all private. Wham, wham. Well, it is what it is. Sometimes then we can just copy those over and we have our own custom ones made that have the same thing. And here, by the way, the same thing goes, right? You don't know how place features work? Take a look at all of this code and this will tell you a little bit more. But of course, I will tell you as well, because place features, once again, in terms of world gen, all of the world gen is a little bit complicated, but hopefully I will be able to explain it to you in a way that you will be able to absolutely do whatever you want going forward. So what we're going to have is, of course, first of all, public static final registry key of type place feature in this case inside of our mod place features class. And there's going to be the pink underscore garnet underscore ore underscore place underscore key. What a name, but it is okay. because it's equal to the register key method with pink underscore garnet underscore ore. And for the placed ones, I always like to add a placed over here. What's quite important is that I don't know if it is necessary or not, but I don't like to have both of the configured feature and the placed feature have the same name. That's why I usually just add the placed over here for the placed feature. Then I basically always know what is going on. And of course, we're going to make the nether one here as well. Very straightforward. Nether over here, and then the end pink garnet as well. Freaking fantastic. Changing the name here too. And there we go. Now that we have our 3 registry keys, we can go on to the bootstrap method. We have already prepared our configured features over here because we need to somehow obviously, well, refer back to them. And we're going to use the var over here of our configured features to do exactly this. Now we're going to have a register method call. First of all, passing in the context, then passing in once again the key. This is going to be the pink garnet ore placed key. And then we want to refer back to the configured feature. The way to do this is we're going to say not the context, but rather configured features dot get or throw. And then we're going to get mod configured features dot pink garnet ore key. Make sure to select the correct things over here, right? We want the overworld pink garnet with the overworld pink garnet configured feature. It's extremely important. So double check this, right? Don't just say, oh, I know that I have everything right. I have seen too many times people say I've written everything correctly, and then there was still a typo in there because some typos are super hard to spot, right? It's not, but don't be too overconfident, right? As we all know, overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, okay? Keep that in mind. Whatever the case may be though, inside of the register call after the first closing parentheses over here, we then have to define, well, basically we can actually see this in the register call over here. We have to define a placement modifier. Now this is where the mod or placement class comes in, where we will simply do a modifiers with a count. And this count over here is going to be the veins per chunk. Roughly speaking, I believe that it is not 100% the veins per chunk, but thinking of this basically is going to be roughly what you will get. Now you have 14 veins per chunk. And then the question is, we also need, as you can see, a height modifier. Now this height modifier is going to look kind of like this. We're going to make a height range placement modifier, and we have an option of either uniform or trapezoid. Let's just use the uniform for the sake of argument with a y offset of a fixed y offset of, let's say, -80, and the second one is going to be a y offset, which is also going to be actually a fixed one of, let's say, 80, and then there you go. And that is actually all we need to do in this case. Let's just quickly duplicate this twice and add the nether ore as well. There's going to be the nether pink garnet ore right here. And of course, extremely important, changing it here as well in the configured feature. Otherwise, it's not going to properly work. Always double check this, I'm telling you. Right? And then the last one is the end pink garnet ore placed key with the end pink garnet ore key from the configured features. Now, the question is, what is this height range placement over here? Well, like I said, the count over here, the 14, is just roughly speaking how many different veins will spawn per chunk. Okay. But then the question is, when it comes to an ore, we need to know at what Y level is it going to spawn? And of course, that will now be answered with the height range placement modifier. Now, we have 2 options. If we go into this particular class, we can either do trapezoid or uniform. We can also make use another height provider, which there are a couple of them: a bias towards bottom, a constant height, a waitlisted height, and a very biased towards bottom. Or you can even, in theory, make your own. That is way past this video. For now, I'm just going to discuss uniform and trapezoid, and then from that, you can basically deduce what the rest to do. So when we do a height range placement modifier, we're defining a lower level, which is going to be the first one over here, right? So in the uniform, you can see we have a minimum offset and a maximum offset. So the minimum would be the bottom, and then the second one is the top, right? So now we're going from Y level -80 to Y level 80. Now you might say, I don't think Y level -80 exists. That doesn't matter. We can still target a Y level. That's why it's called a Y offset and not a Y level. And the idea here is that when we use a uniform distribution, because that's what we're basically trying to do, is we're saying that each level there has the same likelihood of ore spawning. So let's do it like a really simple, right? We have from 80 to 80. So basically we have 160 Y levels, right? Individual Y levels of blocks where this could spawn. And let's just say 14 is our number. Then in theory, each level has an 8.75% chance of spawning one of our ores. Obviously, this is this is completely reduced to not really even being that accurate, but it hopefully sort of demonstrates the idea so that we make a distribution. And if we do a uniform distribution, that means that each level is the same likelihood. However, if we do a trapezoid, now it gets really interesting because now these offsets make a little bit more sense that they can be outside of the world, because when we have a trapezoid, we basically make a triangle. And that triangle is going to have the first part at -80, the second part at 80, and those are going to be the ones that have the least amount of likelihood, right? So that's going to be a distribution that's like basically looks like a triangle, where between the two, in this case, that would be y level 0, it has the highest likelihood to actually have some ores be found. And -80 would be the lowest, and 80 would also be the lowest. And that's the whole idea. And then it basically tapers towards the, or tapers off, I guess, like from the high point of 0, and it tapers off towards the individual fixed offsets over here. That's the idea of the trapezoid. And then, like I said, you can take a look at the other height providers over here, make your own if you wanted to. Highly recommended for you to check this out if you want a very, very specific way of something spawning, right? The ores in this case of them spawning, but in usually uniform and trapezoid, you should be good to go. Hopefully though, this is completely understandable and it makes sense. It should make sense. And that is the way that they spawn. Now, we have one last step, right, in my crazily drawn thing over here, CF2, PF2, BM, yes. We have the configured feature. We now have the place feature. How is this going to be placed? And then the BM, the biome modification, is where will this be placed? And this is going to be answered in the world gen package. We'll make a new Java class called the mod or generation class. It's going to have a single private, a public static void generate ores method, generate ores. And this is going to look kind of like this. We can use the biome modifications class and use the add feature method, add feature, where we will first say biome, there we go, biome selectors dot, and we can say found in overworld. Because in my case, I want my placed key, or my pink garnet ore, to be placed in the entire overworld. Second parameter is the underground ores feature step, and then we define the placed feature, which is going to be the pink garnet ore placed key. Freaking fantastic. We can then duplicate this twice and start here, very importantly. Now we want to say found in the nether. We're still on underground ores, but now we want the nether pink garnet ore placed key. Important that you check this, nether, awesome. And then here, of course, where's this? Well, it is going to be found in the end. So all end biomes basically. And that is where we want to place the end pink garnet ore placed feature here in this case. Absolutely fantastic. With this done, we have it. If you want specific ores over here, of course, you can use the biome selectors to do exactly this. You can see include by key. And the way to include by key is literally just use biome keys dot and then say forest, for example. And then you can even do multiple ones like plains and so on and so forth. This is just going to be an example. Let's just do this. And this is going to be the example for individual biomes, right? So then you can have individual biomes and you can, in theory, add to the include by key as many biomes as you would like. And there you go. That is the whole idea for this. And once we have this, this generate ores method will then be called in the generate mod world gen method, right? And we're going to have this at the very top over here, mod or generation, generate ores. And with this, with this, we have freaking done it. So with this done, first of all, we need to run data gen because, of course, our configured feature and our place feature, those are JSON files. And we'll see those JSON files in a second, but those will actually generate as JSON files. And then the world generation, right, the generate ores right here that we have added, that is actual code that will then generate the thing inside of the biomes. And then in the data tutorial mod folder, world gen has been created with 3 place features and 3 configured features. Absolutely freaking fantastic. And we can basically take a look at this and you can see this is the ore. We're saying, hey, if the stone ore replaceables have a tag match, then you can place down pink garnet ore right here. And we wanted to place 12 of them. And that is a ore feature. And this ore feature is then featured right here inside of the mod place features. You can see pink garnet ore. So it refers back to the configured feature. And this is where we have 14 of them in a trapezoid height range over here from -80 to +80. Absolutely freaking fantastic. And with this, let's jump into the game, make a new world, and see our ore for the first time spawning inside the world. Now, when you make a new world, you may or may not get an error or something like that. Or if you rejoin the world that you have created with custom worlds and stuff, it might sometimes complain about, you know, data that's like something weird about that. You can basically just ignore it. There is sadly no way to turn this off, so that is sadly a thing. But there we go. Let's get ourselves some night vision, and then we go down, and I've already spotted our beautiful freaking pink garnet all right here. And if we were to go down even further, I mean, absolutely freaking fantastic. Look at this. That is absolutely amazing. And of course, in the Nether, we will be able to find this as well. And look at this. I mean, that is record freaking time. And in the end, we are in the end. And that is going to be interesting too, because, haha, there it freaking is. We'll have all of the different ores added to World Gen. Absolutely freaking fantastic. That is the beauty of Origin. Origin is absolutely freaking awesome. I'm telling you, that is awesome. And that is custom Origin added to Minecraft. Amazing. As per usual, all of the code is available down below, but that's going to be it for this tutorial right here. Next time in this video, we'll talk about a custom tree. Hope to see you there. So, yeah.